Let's feed the dehydrated or live sourdough starter that you bought. Here are the instructions, and I'm showing a reference of a tablespoon on the left and a teaspoon on the right. We are using a tablespoon for these instructions. Let's begin by dumping the dehydrated starter into a clean jar. I like a wide jar. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of water, give it a quick mix, and let it sit for 10 minutes. We're essentially letting the dehydrated starter get hydrated again over those 10 minutes. Once that 10 minutes is done, give it another quick mix before adding 1 tablespoon of unbleached flour. At this point, we are mixing until all the water is absorbed, and we are mixing by the sight and feel of a stiff starter that is not too sticky. Now, I choose to use gloves, but as long as you use a clean utensil or very clean hands, you can do this next part where you're just kneading the dough, making sure it's not too sticky, not too dry. I am also grabbing the remaining flour from the side of the bowl. Once a ball forms and you have a good stiff starter, it's not supposed to be too liquidy, you cover it up and you let it rest. Ensure that when you close the lid, you leave a little bit of gap so that it doesn't pop off. As the sourdough starter comes back alive, it creates gas, and then a tight lid will come off at a random time. The next part is easy. You're going to wait 48 hours before feeding it again with this formula here. For the first 3 feedings, I recommend feeding it every 48 hours, which is every 2 days at the same time. After it establishes those first 3 feedings, you're going to feed it once every 24 hours, preferably at the same time every day. If you forget, just get back on schedule, nothing will happen. These are the bubbles that you want to see on the bottom of your container. It means there is activity. That's why I like having a wide bowl and clear bowl for my feeding. When the starter is considered to be at peak, it has a slight dome just like this. It has plumped up, and at the bottom it has those air bubbles that I was talking about showing activity. It has a slightly fermented smell, and that is a good sign. It doesn't mean it's bad. After the peak phase, this is a good example of a flat, hungry starter. It has spread out, it is flat, it is no longer dome, and it has a very distinctive fermented smell. Do not feed your starter at peak. You want to feed it when it is hungry and flat looking like this. Let's feed our starter with a scale using dehydrated starter. Starting first with 5 grams of dehydrated starter, 12 grams of non-chlorinated water. We are going to give it a mix and wait 10 minutes for the starter to get hydrated again with that water. After the 10-minute wait, you're going to knead the stiff starter into a ball, just how I showed in the beginning of the video. You may add little by little flour until it is no longer sticky. Knead it into a ball, clean up the sides of the bowl with the ball, and cover it up, and don't feed it into another 48 hours. You'll do a feeding every 48 hours for the first 3 feedings. Let's feed our live starter. Starting with 5 grams or 1 teaspoon of live starter into a clean jar. I use glass, and it is a wide bowl for easy kneading later. After I add the starter, I am adding 1 tablespoon of non-chlorinated water. Using a clean utensil, I am going to give it a mix and also getting the sides of the bowl. Once the water is well incorporated, I am using 1 heaping spoon of unbleached flour. And this is the most work and time that you'll be here for. You are going to be scraping the sides, give it a nice mix, adding flour little by little until you have a stiff starter dough. Once the dough gets to this part here, I'm calling it a dough, but it's a stiff starter. I'm using gloves, but you can use very clean hands or a utensil to start kneading the starter until it is no longer sticky. I'll add flour little by little, knead, scrape the sides. I repeat until I get a nice stiff starter. Once it holds up its shape and it is no longer sticky and I have all the flour from the sides, it is time to put it to sleep. The next part is easy, making sure that your stiff starter stays in a room temperature of anywhere of 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. You'll let it sit there, don't put it in the refrigerator, and you'll wait 48 hours to feed it the second time. You'll wait another 48 hours to feed it the third time, and after that, you'll feed it once every 24 hours, preferably at the same time. Just a quick visual reminder, this is how it looks after 12 to 48 hours. And this is how it looks at its peak or near its peak. It has a slight dome and it has puffed up. And lastly, after peak, this is a hungry, flat starter ready to get fed again. Again, don't feed your starter during peak or before peak. You want to be patient and wait to let it get hungry, or after it has an established schedule, you'll feed it once every 24 hours or once every 48 hours. Lastly, here are some rules that I follow for the best starter to give me consistent results is using unbleached flour, preferably organic, but it's okay if it's not. Unchlorinated water. I don't ever use my tap water unless you have a filtration system. I prefer to use bottled water, especially the spring water or the dispenser water from the water mill. Lastly, I never refrigerate. If I'm going away for a couple days where I can't take my starter, I'll either feed it a very large feeding, for example, 1 gram to 100 grams of water and flour, or I'll have someone feed it for me. I'd rather not feed my starter than putting it in the fridge. That's how much I believe in this rule. But at the end of the day, this is your starter, and some people do and some people don't. If you have any questions, please reach out at Peach Sourdough. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and you can talk to me in person at the farmers market. Thanks for watching.